you. This is a series that Jacqie and I are doing. It's Jacqie's brainchild. She's just letting me tag along because she's a super amazing friend. But she started this series kind of working through some older photos, and she picked a sketch series from, I think it's called The Dusty Attic, and then kind of worked her way through those sketches. And now in her, I think this is her third year. Jacqie, if I'm wrong, I apologize, but this is her third year, and so we're working through the Scraproom's Freaky Fast Friday formulas. So these kind of started as an occasional blog post, and now they are a monthly challenge. Basically, just like a sketch, it's designed to kind of get you out of a rut, give you a jumping off point to start a layout, and then hopefully that kind of gets your mojo going and you can, jumpstart the creative process for your layout. So they are a monthly challenge now. I'll leave the link to the Scraproom down below so that you can go and check them out. But Jacqie went all the way back to the very first one, got them all organized, and we are just going to work our way through them every Tuesday. So I am joined by my guest, as you can see here. So you'll have to apologize. There are the odd, little disruptions in the video where I kind of jump a bit because he's being super duper helpful, but he's found that little Ziploc baggie of sequins and they spill a bunch of times. So we are basically just working through the fourth week, or the fourth formula, I guess you could say, because originally these weren't put out with any kind of consistency. It was just whenever Frances had put together a formula, she would put it on the blog. There you go. Yep, he spilled a whole bunch of them. He had so much fun with those sequins, but I don't have any of them left because they ended up getting spilled on the desk a bunch of times and then on the carpet. And yeah, but super, super fun for him and great for his dexterity, because he does have cerebral palsy. So it's a little bit hard, some of those fine motor skills and picking up little things like that. But he had a ton of fun doing that and sorting the colors. And I'm totally off track. Sorry, but it was good. If you have kids at home that need to work on that, sequins are definitely kind of a fun thing that they're messy, but they're not super duper messy. So definitely pull out your sequins and get them to try to sort them into colors or sort them into shapes or something like that, using their little pincher reflexes, their thumb and index finger, and it was great for him. So on to the layout though. So this is the fourth formula that was created, and it's a pretty basic one, but wait until you see how much trouble I had with it. So the only two measurements, and that's what the formulas are. Sorry, I forgot to explain that. Essentially, what it is a series of measurements for you to cut your pattern papers at. That's it. That's all. So you pick your pattern papers, pull them all out. You could even pull out some pictures ahead of time if you kind of have an idea of maybe a theme you want to scrap or a specific photo you want to scrap. And then the idea is that you use the formula to cut your pattern papers into whatever the dimensions are, whatever the measurements are, and then kind of move them around like I'm doing right here. Move them around the page, see where they fit, see what kind of clicks with you, with the size of the picture or the amount of photos that you have chosen. Just keep going, almost like a puzzle, until something stands out and works for you, like this design here did for me finally. And there you go. So it's sort of, it doesn't give you the exact layout. It doesn't create the design for you like a sketch would, where you actually almost sort of see the finished product first and then you're reverse engineering it to kind of create your own layout. Or even a scrap lift is kind of that way, where you see the finished product and then you work backwards to create something more in your own style. This gives you the very kind of basic measurements for your paper, and then it's up to you to just play around and see how they all fit together and come up with the design. So tons and tons of fun. And you saw me there with these squares, moving them all around the page, trying to figure out how I wanted them to come together to create my design. So there were only 2 measurements given this week. There were 6 2.5 by 2.5 squares, which you see is the paper that I picked that has the little kind of Christmassy coffee mugs on them. And then 1 strip of pattern paper, any length and width that you choose. So I picked that green and white gingham paper, and I just cut a thin strip. I didn't even really measure it. It was already just a little sliver on the 12 by 12 paper, and so I just continued it. So it's probably about maybe half an inch, maybe slightly more than half an inch, and then it's 12 inches long. So not a very wide strip, and I really wasn't sure where it was going to go. But I love what I came up with. I just ripped a piece of that red paper, the background paper. That was the other element. Usually it'll say, your 12 by 12 piece of cardstock or pattern paper for your background, or whatever. Whoops, I hit my lamp there. Whatever size layout you're doing, you just want to cut your background paper to the right size too, or have your 12 by 12. And then, I decided to go ahead and just rip that and add that little gingham sort of as a little strip that's peeking out on the one side. And then from there, I just played around with those squares and moved them into different orientations, moved my picture around with them to try to see what felt right. And here's what I came up with. And I love it. I think this turned out so great. It is very simple. There's lots of pattern. Even though there isn't a ton of different patterns, there's just lots of pattern represented because the squares are all the same pattern, and it's a kind of busy pattern with all of those mugs. And then that gingham is just a nice, fun little kind of peeking out of green and white. I did use that paper to map my photo as well, which I don't think there's any rules really about adding extra papers if you wanted to, and cutting more paper than what is listed on the formula. The formula is really just the jumping off point, so you can take it in whatever direction you want to once you've done that. So I just used the green to map my photo so that I had a little bit of it on the other side as well, and it just helped my picture to kind of stand out from the red background. And then I even decided not to over embellish. I did kind of struggle with what embellishments I wanted to use because there's so much space available there. I could have done really big clusters and kind of gone large and added a ton of stuff, but in the end I decided not to. I grabbed a couple of die cuts and a couple of flare. I think all of them come from the Cocoa Vanilla collection, a Christmas collection. I, for the life of me, cannot remember the name of this collection, but I got all of these little bits of paper and ephemera from Christy, and so I never actually had the full collection. I just have these little bits. That was in that plastic bag of goodies that she sent me. That's all the Christmas stuff she sent me. So I just pulled out a few bits and pieces. I also fussy cut a couple of the mugs that were in that paper. That white paper with the mugs actually is a Recollections paper pad that I got from Michael's on sale, one of their $5 deals. I don't think last Christmas. I think it was the one before, but it could have been last Christmas too. But that was all from my How to Kill a Kit with Style kit because the theme this month was hot beverages. So I'm kind of proud of myself that, again, this is a layout where I used my How to Kill a Kit with Style kit. I used scraps, so it kind of counts for Baby Got Scraps. And I love how my layout turned out. I finished it off with some sequins, and I finished it off with some splatters of Heidi Swap Color Shine in white and then also in gold. I added a few little gold puffy stickers from Freckled Fawn. And that's it. Super simple, very quick. Once I kind of knew where those squares were going, everything came together really quick. I popped some up on foam, and voila, there is my layout for the last Tuesdays in the Attic for January. So on to February. I'm super excited to continue with this series. I've been having so much fun with it. Jacqie's links are down below, as well as the Scraproom too, so you can definitely go and check all of that out. And thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I love all of you following along on this journey. And if you're playing along at home, let me know, because I would love to see what you're creating with these measurements that were being given. So this week's again was 6 2.5 by 2.5 squares and 1 strip of your choosing. And that's it. So until next time, happy scrapping. Bye.
Bye. Thanks to me. To what button? Tell my channel.